I'm adding them now.
Yeah. Shall we start? All right.
Yes,
Hi,
ma'am,
good
I think
morning.
we can start. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining in on a Sunday morning. My name is Guneet Khanna, and I'm the founder director of Reviser. Today, we are going to be talking about the SAT and the ACT exams. The idea here is to understand a high school student's journey from grade 12th, 9th to 12th, and how these exams, the SAT and the ACT, fit into their academic path. So, in this webinar, you will learn the main things that you, as students and parents, need to plan and prepare for during this journey. And then we'll do a little bit of a deep dive into the two exams, and we'll show you how we at Reviser can help you along with the tools that we've built. A quick brief about how the webinar has been structured. We'll spend about half an hour, 45 minutes talking about these two exams. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box on the right hand side. I'll take up the questions at the end of the webinar. In the last 15 minutes, we can have a question and answer session. Any questions that you have, you could unmute yourself and ask those questions as well. Also, we will be sharing all the important links with you at the end of this webinar, along with the recording of the webinar, so that you can go over them in at your convenience. You can also book one-on-one sessions with us anytime that you feel. We'll be sharing our numbers with you as well. So if you have any questions about your personal SAT ACT journey, definitely we could help you plan that. All right, so Reviser, to get started, a little bit before we get into the details, Reviser is a high school learning support company. We work students with students worldwide to help them achieve their academic goals. We start working with students as early as grade 8 and work with them all the way up to grade 12. We largely help them in two major areas. The first one is test prep, where we help them, or we coach for SAT, ACT, APs across various subjects, IELTS, etc. And the second is academic tutoring, where we provide coaching for students in the Cambridge board, which is IGCSE, AS&A levels, and IB. And this is basic subject tutoring across maths, physics, chem, bio, a bunch of other subjects. We do have some programs that are happening right now to help students prepare them for their board exams that are coming up in May. We are doing a bunch of crash courses. We are also doing some test series where students can come and take tests with us, and we'll give them feedback onto areas that they need to focus on. We also are doing the coaching for those areas. So feel free to call us if you have any questions regarding that. We've been in this space for more than 8 years, almost 9 years now, actually, and we've worked with more than 5,000 plus families over this time. We have offices in Bangalore, but we are an online company. We have students from 8 plus countries. We work with students across all countries and curriculums. Um, okay, so first of all, let's try and understand the undergraduate college admissions abroad versus India. Why do the students need to take the SAT or the ACT exam at all, right? So the US school system is very similar to our state board or the PU system that we have in India, right? They have a core curriculum which is defined by the education board. And then each state can choose how they conduct the curriculum. This results in varying levels of expertise in each subject, making it very difficult for universities to judge a student's caliber, right? They don't have a single standardized national curriculum like we do in India. We have the CBSE or the ICSE, where everyone writes the same paper, right? So when when a college hears, okay, 98% in CBSE math, the college knows what that means. What is the student's caliber? So what happens is now the universities in the US needed to even the playing field. So they collaborated with two companies, namely the College Board, which conducts the SAT, and ACT.org, which conducts the ACT, right? So the aim being that every student should know at least this much English and this much mathematics, which in turn could help the universities assess a student's ability to take on a college level course, right? So how well you score on these tests indicate to them which courses are you really eligible for, right? See, in India, we have very clear cutoff scores. You get 99.9%, you get into, in your 12th exam, you get into your SRCC. Or if you don't get it, you don't get it, right? In the US, they don't have any clear cutoff scores, right? Yes, there is a range, of what your SAT scores need to be to get into certain colleges, or in the previous years, people who have applied to these colleges, what is the kind of score that they have received. Definitely, those are indicators. But these can vary from university to university and different courses within the same university. So, if you're applying to Georgia Tech for, say, an engineering course, you might require a certain SAT score range. But if you're applying for another course within Georgia Tech, you might require a different SAT score range. It depends on the course you're applying to, universities you're applying to. It varies, right? Also, we need to understand when colleges and universities review your application for admission, they're largely looking at four main areas, right? First and foremost is your academics. Foreign colleges and universities are very interested in your overall academic performance, right? Like in India, colleges are mainly interested in your 12th grade final board exam result, right? International colleges will look at your grades from ninth onwards. So your transcripts need to be submitted 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th midterms. And your school's predicted grades as to what they're expecting you to get at the end of grade 12, right? So they'll be looking at your academic performance across 4 years. So this basically means that you need to start focusing on your academics early on, because colleges would like to see how you've grown and how you've improved. All right. One of the other things that they look at are standardized test scores, which basically means, see, in India, when you are applying to colleges, you give the competitive exam of the field that you're planning to study. So, for example, if you're studying engineering, you will give the JEE. If you're interested in doing medicine, you will take the NEET exam. For law, it's CLAT, and so on and so forth. Now, that's how it is in India. In the US and abroad, it's slightly different. They've got this one standardized test, the SAT or the ACT. You don't even need to take both. You can take, you don't have to pick an exam based on your major, right? You choose any one of these exams, whichever one you think you can do better on, and take that exam. So whether you're planning to study economics or finance or engineering, medicine, biochemistry, you're still taking the same exam, right? The other thing that they really pay attention to is your profile. And what do we mean by profile? Um, you know, it's basically how you showcase to the college who you are as a person, what major area of study are you really interested in pursuing, and what have you done in that area beyond what has been done in school, right? So whatever your interest is, you then you need to show to them what have you done beyond. Now, many different ways to do it. Students might end up doing a research paper, they might start a blog. They get, students can get involved in community service, create an app, but largely it has to tie up with the major that you're doing. So this is what your profile building is all about. The fourth aspect, of course, is the college application itself. You'll be doing various things like shortlisting universities, completing applications, writing numerous essays, getting your letters of recommendation and all that. But the most critical of this is your application essay. So beyond test scores and grades, essays will provide a window into your personality, your passions, your aspirations. They've given you a platform here to share your experiences, your challenges, your goals, what shapes your unique identity, who you really are. It also humanizes your application, right? So your essay is an opportunity for you to stand out and make a lasting impression. So my recommendation is please spend some time and effort in writing these compelling narratives that authentically reflect who you are, right? Now let's do a little bit of a deep dive into these exams. So before we get into the exams, one of the things that I'd like to talk about is how can you set up a timeline for yourself, starting grade 9 to grade 12? What are the things that you could be doing to prepare for these standardized exams, right? So if you're in grade 9, of course, academics goes across all 4 years, 9, 10th, 11th, and 12th, and profile building also happens across these years. In grade 9, what you could do is you could write the PSAT. They have PSATs, PSAT 8 and 9 for grade 9. It gives you an idea what is the exam that you need to prepare for, what is it that you're expected to write, at the end of grade 10 or during your grade 11, right? This exam now happens, I think, twice a year. It happens once in spring and once in fall. So March, April is one time, and then again September, October is the other time. So if I would recommend that you write this exam. It's a light bulb moment for students where they understand what is the test entail, what do you need to prepare for. Also, one of the key things that we have noticed is that our Indian students will end up getting their scores in math. English is something that they struggle with. The level of English is higher. It's reasonably complex. So it gives you an idea. Just a second. Yeah, it gives you an idea. It gives you enough time to start reading and to start building those critical reading skills that you have, right? Just a second. All right. Grade 10, of course, you should take write a diagnostic SAT exam. You will understand, you could potentially start your SAT English prep. You need grade 10 mathematics to build on your SAT going forward, but definitely you could start on your SAT English prep. I would say write the PSAT. There's a PSAT 10 also, which is there. If you want to write that, you could write that. Slightly harder questions than PSAT 8, 9. You could also write some manageable APs. Of course, I would not say do the more complex one like calculus, BC, and all of those. Those require much higher level of mathematics. But the skill-based or interest-based APs. Try writing those. If you are very good at coding, or if you have an interest, you've been coding for a while, you could write AP Computer Science A, or you could write AP Macroeconomics, Microeconomics, if you're planning to study eco or business going forward. AP Psychology, if you're interested in that, is a good AP to write as well. But the technical APs, I would say wait for a little later. For the US citizens, most, you have the PSAT NMSQT, which is the National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test, and we'll talk about that a little more. You need to take it in the October of grade 11. So a lot of students will write that. We recommend that you finish your SAT prep and write your 1 or 2 attempts or 3 attempts of the SAT or the ACT, whatever you're writing, during grade 11 itself. Great, and of course, you'll be writing your APs also. So the best time to start your prep is as soon as you finish your grade 10 exam. If I had to look at an ideal timeline, I would say finish your SAT English prep while you're still in grade 10. Summer vacation of grade 10, finish your math prep, finish your SAT prep before you head into grade 11. Grade 11 is very heavy on academics. So be careful about that. If you've done your SAT prep, or at least bulk of your SAT prep in your summer vacations after grade 10, then you can focus a lot more on your academics in grade 11, which are going to be heavy, and the APs that you'll be writing at the end of grade 11. Grade 12 is very heavy on the application process. We usually recommend that you finish your SATs or your ACTs before that, but a lot of students take their second or third attempt early, grade 12 as well. And of course, grade 12 you should keep for your applications. Now, let's try and understand. The SAT exam and the ACT exam is conducted 7 times a year. This year, there's an 8th exam in September, which has been announced by the SAT. So you have one more option of giving your SAT exam. We have the next exam in May, then one in June, August, September, October, November, December, and then we have one that happens in March. So while candidates are permitted to take the exam multiple times, it's generally advisable not to take more than 2 attempts. And colleges have varying preferences when it comes to standardized test scores, right? Some universities require applicants to submit all of their scores for every SAT and the ACT that they've taken. Some will allow you to superscore. That means you pick the best of English score and the best of math score across all tests taken by you, and then you submit those. And some universities will want you to submit only your best score, but in a single exam, right? Now, some universities are test optional. This means that the students can choose to submit their test score if they feel it strengthens their application, but they're not required to do so, right? And test optional policies came into play during the pandemic, where tests could not be conducted everywhere easily. Then you have the test blind universities, where standardized test scores such as the SAT and ACT are not considered during the admission process. So this means that the test scores will not influence the decision-making process for admission. Universities like the UCs are test blind, right? And then there are some universities that mandate that you take either the SAT or the ACT. They will not accept your application without a test scores. These are the more competitive universities where it's difficult to get in, like, universities like the MIT, Yale, Georgia Tech, Dartmouth, Brown. They've all chosen to become test mandatory. Harvard, right? Now, the decision to take these exams will depend on the policies of the universities that you're applying to, right? So if you don't have a final college list prepared already, it might be a good idea to go ahead and take the exam. Because if you're trying to take it last minute, you might not achieve your potential score. And moreover, as an international student, it's always advisable, to submit your SAT, ACT score. Now you're planning to apply for college in a geography. They have a standardized exam, right? If you take that exam and you do well, you've just given them another data point. And of course, it boosts your application, right? Another thing that you should note is that the acceptance of the SAT and the ACT digital scores extends beyond the United States. Several other countries, including Singapore, Canada, Australia, even India, recognize and accept the SAT and the ACT score. All right. So let's look at the exam, the structure of the exam. The test is the SAT and the ACT are both digital exams. Now, in the SAT, you have the flexibility to use your own device. You can bring your own laptop with the necessary software installed. The College Board conducts this test on an app called the Blue Book app. You need to install this app from the website on your computer, and you can attempt the test on your own laptop, but you do have to go to a test center. And the digital interface, the exam interface is very friendly. It has a clock for time management. You can easily navigate between the questions. You can have, you can access all your math formulas in one place. Also, the SAT exam is notably shorter when compared to the ACT. It lasts for about 2 hours and 14 minutes. All right. Let's break down the exam structure. There are 2 sections, English and math, right? In the English section, there are 2 modules. Each module has 27 questions, and you'll get 32 minutes for each of those modules. So you're going to be answering 54 questions in 64 minutes to complete this section. Now, the SAT section allows you approximately 1.19 minute per question. This is a crucial figure, and we'll revisit it later when we're looking at the ACT. For math also, there are 2 modules. Each module has 22 questions, and you'll have 35 minutes per module. So you'll be doing a total of 44 questions in 70 minutes. All right. And here you have 1.59 minutes per question to solve it, right? The score range is, so the total SAT score is 1600, 800 for math and 800 for English. And you, within these sections, you'll get a score anywhere between 200 to 800 per section, right? Aiming for a score of 1500 is advisable. For those of you who are looking at, who are targeting top universities, it typically corresponds to the 99th percentile. All right. What is being tested? In the SAT reading and writing section, your comprehension, language use, and your writing skills are being put to the test. So you'll come across varying academic and literary passages, and you'll be answering questions for them to gauge your understanding. So this test segment includes craft and structure, which focuses on vocabulary and text evaluation. You have information and ideas, where you interpret various texts and infographics. You have expression of idea, which is refining the written expression. And you have standard English conventions, which is basic rules of English grammar, usage, and punctuation, right? In the math section, the content can be broadly categorized into four main areas. Algebra, you will have linear equations, inequalities, system of equations, problem-solving techniques. Then you have problem solving and data analysis, which covers topics related to data interpretation, ratios, rates, proportions, unit rates. Advanced math includes quadratic and exponential equations. Geometry and trigonometry focuses on areas, concepts such as area, volume, lines, angles, triangles, trigonometric functions. Now, English, everything is multiple choice. Math, approximately 75% of the math questions will be multiple choice, but 25% questions, a student has to come up with an answer. All right. Another crucial point to highlight here is that the SAT math is heavily weighted towards algebra. Almost 85% questions are either algebra or other mathematical concepts, with only 5 to 7 questions which are relating to geometry and trigonometry, right? Which is 10 to 15% of the total portions. Another thing to note is that the digital SAT is section adaptive. What do we mean by section adaptive? In each section, we had spoken, you have module 1 and module 2, right? Everyone gets the same level of difficulty in module 1. How well you do in module 1 determines which version of module 2 you get, right? Let's say you do very well on module 1. And I'm just taking random numbers here. Please be advised that College Board doesn't disclose their algorithms. Say you do very well on module 1, you score, say, 16 out of 20. Now you will get a version of module 2, which is more challenging, but that's good, right? Because it is potentially leading you to a higher score range. So you could score anywhere between, say, 680 and 800. On the other hand, if you don't do well in module 1, right, say you get 9 out of 20 questions right, now you will get a less challenging version of module 2, but it takes you to a score range of, say, 450 to 560. So even if you get all the questions correct in version 2, in module 2, you cannot score more than 560, right? So doing well on module 1 is crucial for you to maximize your overall score. Now, here are some of the universities that accept your SAT scores within India as well, right? Let's talk about the ACT. Oh, let's talk about the PSATs. All right. So we had spoken earlier about the PSAT and the PSAT NMSQT, if you remember, right? So what is the PSAT? It is a preliminary SAT, or it's a shortened, it's an easier version of the SAT exam. Like I was talking, there are two PSATs. There is one which is PSAT 8-9, and of course there's the PSAT 10. Now, it's just an easier version of the SAT. Remember, it is a talent hunt. They're looking for students who are doing well, who are ahead of the curve. Think about it almost in terms of the Olympiad exam that you give, right? It's very similar to that. If you look at the concept, it's very similar to that. It's conducted twice a year. Again, if your school doesn't offer it, you can figure out which is the school in your city that offers it, and you can register there as a private candidate. The next question is, should you even be writing it? Is it even required? Students can opt for taking the PSAT for different reasons. One, of course, we had spoken about that it gives you an idea of what do you need to prepare for, what is the SAT exam. It gives you a 2-year head start to make sure you get your English and your reading done. SAT has a comprehensive reading list. So you at least have some time to prepare for the English section, right? Some students will take it because they're applying to certain internships or certain summer school programs which requires them to have a PSAT score, right? Some will just take it to assess where do they stand globally, what is the prep that they need to do over the next 1 or 2 years, right? If you're a US citizen, in the October of grade 11, there is a PSAT NMSQT, which is a National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test that you should write because it gives you an option for an additional scholarship. This is the qualifying test, and there are 1 or 2 rounds more. If you're ahead of the curve, like I said, it's a talent hunt. You could perhaps get an additional scholarship other than to your college scholarships which you're getting, right? For an Indian citizen, for an international citizen, it's just a practice test. It'll help you get ready. It gives you an idea. Okay, this is what I need to prepare for, but your PSAT scores do not go to your college at all. All right. So that's about the PSATs. Let's now talk about the ACTs. So the ACT has 5 sections in all, right? English, math, reading, science, and an optional essay component. Now, the English section gives you 45 minutes for 75 questions. Math gives you 60 minutes for 60 questions. Reading and science sections each have 40 questions, which need to be completed in 35 minutes. Score of these 4 sections range from 1 to 36. And the average of these 4 sections gives you a composite score, again, out of 1 out of 36. The essay is scored separately on a score of 2 to 12, which is not included in the overall score calculation. If we were to look at the ACT, the first section is the ACT English section. It's very similar to the grammar section of the digital SAT, but there's a notable time difference. You are given only 45 minutes to solve 75 questions. So you are given approximately 36 seconds to do a question. If you remember, the digital SAT gave you 1.19 minutes per question, right? The skills that are being tested are pretty much the same. Math, you're given 60 minutes to do 60 questions, gives you roughly 1 minute per question. If you remember, the digital SAT gave you 1.59 minutes per question. There's a significant time reduction from 50 to 60%. What are they testing? 2 broad categories: algebra, geometry, and trigonometry. But there is a difference in the distribution of the components. ACT is spread out equally between algebra and geometry, right? Whereas if you remember, the digital SAT was 85% algebra, only 15% math. The third section is the ACT reading section. Similar timelines to SAT, similar skills being tested, but there are 2 major differences. First is the structure of the passages. In the ACT, in the reading section, you will have 1 long passage followed by 10 questions. You will have, and you will have about 4 passages. The SAT doesn't have long passages, and you have to do shorter passages, but you're almost reading 27 short passages, right? The second difference is the SAT content is very dense. The questions tend to be more intricate, nuanced, very complex, requires deeper analysis and critical thinking skills. In comparison, the ACT reading passages, the questions are reasonably straightforward and simpler, right? Fourth section is the ACT science section. Many students and parents often worry about this, thinking, I'm not good at science, maybe I shouldn't take up the ACT. Or some will say, okay, I'm looking at pursuing STEM, maybe I should take the ACT. So up till now, the ACT section is basically a reading section. The passages are science-based. So instead of literature, you're going to be looking at a passage, which could be biology, physics, chemistry, but you have to use the knowledge within the passage to answer the questions. They're not really testing your knowledge of science as such. Um, so it's pretty much reading comprehension. All right. Now, the other, which we spoke about, was the ACT essay. It's an optional component scored on a scale of 2 to 12. You will be given one prompt. You'll have 40 minutes to write an essay. It basically assesses your ability to analyze a complex issue, develop a clear perspective, and support your ideas with relevant evidence, right? While it is optional, it does provide colleges with insight into your writing skills and your critical thinking skills. All right. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind, and I think I'll speak about it a little later, choosing between the SAT and the ACT can seem daunting, but there are some factors to consider which can help you make a very informed decision. Firstly, consider your own strengths and weaknesses. SAT focuses more on reasoning and critical thinking skills. So if you like looking at complex questions, if you think that challenges you and you do better on that, on those kind of questions, definitely the SAT is something to look at. ACT is more straightforward, has a very direct style of questioning. While the questions come at you pretty fast, but it's reasonably straightforward. So you have to see which one can you do better on. Secondly, think about timing. SAT gives you more time per question, which can be beneficial if you need extra time to think through problems. On the other hand, ACT, like I mentioned, very fast-paced, more questions, less time, but straightforward. So if you're good at working quickly and efficiently, ACT might suit you better. Again, if you find math difficult, you might want to look at the ACT. Math is only 25% of the entire test. On the SAT, math is 50%, right? That could be a factor that you could look at. Currently, the SAT is much shorter. It's 2 hours, 15 minutes. ACT is 3 hour long plus the 40-minute component, essay component. So evaluate which format plays to your strengths and preferences. But do keep in mind that ACT is changing its format. Starting September, for all international students, you will have the new format of the SAT, which is different. They have changed quite a few things now. It is shorter. It's almost at par. The length of the test is almost at par with the SAT. There are 44 fewer questions that you're going to be doing. They have also made the ACT science sectional option. So if you don't want to take this ACT science section, there is going to be an option. You will get a score with only reading, writing. So that is English, reading, and math. And you can do that only. If you're planning to pursue STEM courses, then yes, taking the ACT science section might be beneficial to you. The writing component, the essay, remains optional for both. So it completely depends on what will help you do better. So starting September, the ACT exam is going to be changing. Again, should you take it, should you not take it? It's a double-edged sword. I'm sure the first few tests they're going to be a little more lenient on your marking, but there's not going to be enough material for you to practice from. They've released only one test, a couple of tests only. So that's going to be a challenge. Again, a decision you need to make. So following this webinar, so up until September is when the exam is changing. So up until July, if you're planning to take your ACTs, I would recommend that you finish all your tries before July. Now, historically, I've seen CBSE and ICSE students do much better on the ACT than they do on the SAT. SAT, if you are someone who has set a base for critical thinking, if that is something you do well, definitely you should look at the SAT. But if you are a CBSE or an ICSE student and plan to take your exam before September, to evaluate the ACT. All right. Following this webinar, you will receive an email from us containing a registration link for free diagnostic tests for the SAT and the ACT. Please take the test at your convenience. Assess your current standing, determine which test is better suited for you. And these are full-length tests. These are free full-length diagnostic tests. If you want, you can book a one-on-one consultation with us. We'll be happy to take you through the report and help you decide which one is better suited for you. This is a free consultation. No catch here. This is just for you to understand the two formats and see which one you should be doing. Right? A little bit about our pedagogy, right? We've divided our program into 4 main phases. We start off with the diagnostic test. to determine which exam is most suitable for you or where you stand currently. Even if you're not planning to take both the diagnostic tests, that's fine. Basically, taking the diagnostic test will help you and us focus on the topics or the areas where you require the most amount of help. In phase 1, we have live online tutoring sessions, which are approximately between 60 to 65 hours for English and maths. We have sessions between 2 hours to 1.5 to 2 hours. Each of these sessions is followed by assignments. And these sessions can be conducted either one-on-one or in groups, depending on the program that you've chosen. Phase 2 involves practices and section tests. So each student is assigned a dedicated program coordinator or a mentor who conducts online meetings to assess a student's areas of strengths and weaknesses. Based on this assessment, the mentor then designs a personalized plan to address the student's needs. If required, they are directed back to classes. Remedials are put into place. Sometimes even extra one-on-one sessions with the faculty are put into place. Phase 3, here a student focuses on full-length practice tests, completing at least 10 to 15 mock tests before the final exam. And the mentor continues to support and monitor the student, adjusting the plan, the personalized test plan that we have prepared for them accordingly to ensure that improvement is happening. All of these phases take place on our digital SAT platform, where students have access to comprehensive practice material and experience the same style of questioning as in the actual SAT exam, right? And the programs that we have, we offer various modules to cater for different needs. So, we have the SAT full training programs. Like I mentioned, they can be done in batches or classes. We also have assisted programs, which are done only one-on-one, where everything is done with the faculty. Or if a student requires, say, only English or only math, these programs are also available. For some accelerated students, we have self-paced programs that provides lesson videos, self-paced exercises, mock tests. It basically gives them a comprehensive checklist to make sure that they haven't missed any aspect of the test. We also have programs where a student can only do mock tests on our digital platform. We provide customized option to suit individual needs. We also have a program called the Base Builder. Like I was mentioning earlier, English is something that most students struggle with. So we have a program that is designed for students of grade 8, 9, and 10. This basically helps you set a strong base for your SAT training. We've taken up, this promotes critical thinking skills. Now, you could do this at home with your children as well. Read an article a day. It's more about the conversation after the article. We as Indians tend to just skim for what the content to see what exactly happened. We are not looking at an author's language to understand when an author says something, what is his purpose, what is his main idea, what does he want to say, what can we infer from that information. And that happens in a discussion after you've read a passage, right? So we've divided the program into 3 parts. Of course, in every session, there is some basic vocabulary that gets taken up. There are certain techniques that students are taught. There are some vocabulary words that we do in class. We also read this reading comprehension, where we read a passage and then there's a discussion that happens with the faculty after you've read that passage to understand a little bit, which promotes critical thinking skills. Why did the author say this? What did he mean when he said this? What was he aiming to achieve by saying this? We also do a little bit of grammar in each of these concepts, because those, of course, in whether you're doing SAT or the ACT, this is the low-hanging fruit. These are easy marks to get. Grammar, like math, has only one correct answer. I mean, reading comprehension can be very subjective. Vocabulary is difficult to build, takes years of reading to build. But grammar, of course, these are the things that you could get earlier, and we make sure we set a solid foundation for that. Some of our top scores, our students have achieved impressive SAT scores, highest reaching 1590, average being about 1450. In the ACT, of course, we've got multiple 36s. Some of the scores of our students. This is what some of our students have to say about our prep. I want to thank each and every one of you. I think we've covered a lot of ground and I hope you found the information insightful and valuable. Now it's it's your turn to steer the conversation. I'm excited to hear your thoughts, questions, and insights. I'll take up questions from the chat box first, in case some of you have put up any questions. All right, can we start foundation in grade 8 standard CBSE? Yes, absolutely. Like I was mentioning, the base builder program that we have, that works best when you start early. There's also a recommended reading list that we have curated. Just fill out the form below and just let us know that you want the recommended reading list, and we'll be happy to share a recommended reading list with you. Do you have SAT English classes for 8th standard students? Yes, we do run PSAT classes as well, and we start them before. So if you're not looking at the base builder, which is building the foundation, if you want specific exam focused learning, we have the PSAT programs that we run. They will start in June, July now, I think, and they will continue till the October exam. If you want to, start that, you definitely could start looking at that as well. Any questions from your end? You could unmute yourself and ask questions as well. Any questions at all? Abdul, Advai, do you have any questions? What are you preparing for? You can unmute yourself and ask us a question. What grade are you in?
Thank you. I'm actually the father of Abdul. He's my son. He's now currently in grade 10.
Okay.
And I've gone through this, what you mentioned it. A little bit, you exactly mentioned that little bit struggle on the English side. And
yes.
My question will be is, my son is doing better in the mathematics, but in the English little bit, I have not yet taken his any PSAT or any test mock drill. What do you suggest? He has been currently on the Khan Academy for last 1 month. And as you mentioned, I will get your feedback on it. He's planning because he's going to have a vacation starting from June, July, and August, who are actually from outside of India.
Okay.
So in that, how we can utilize his 3 months? Do we have any specific 3 months course or 2.5 months course where he can push up his English and those critical things what you're mentioning in order to jack up his capacities at the SAT?
Absolutely, absolutely. So Khan Academy is fantastic material because they are the ones who are conducting the college board exam, right? They've tied up with college board, and they are the ones who are so they are the actual questions. The test makers who actually make the test are the questions that you will see on Khan Academy. That's brilliant. Now we do have SAT English courses that happen throughout the summer break. Again, you can take them in batches, or you can take them one-on-one. If he's weak in English, I would recommend a one-on-one course, because there the faculty can, instead of a very generalized study, they can focus on the areas where he is struggling specifically, right? And believe me, the summer break after 10th grade is the best time to prep, because 11th grade, like I mentioned, studies get quite difficult. 11th is when studies really start. Up until grade 10, it's really easy. So using the summer break well is the best thing that you could possibly do. I would recommend, I think if you could just fill out the form, if you want, you can have a one-on-one session with us. Take the SAT mock exam. Since he's completed the 10th grade, I would say take the mock exam, the diagnostic test. And if he wants, he can take only the English test if he wants to. If he doesn't want to do the math test, the diagnostic link it'll have a link of only the English portions as well. And then set up a meeting with us. We'll take you through the report. There are no charges for this. We'll take you through the report and help you understand which are the areas he needs to focus on. Usually what I've seen is that it's best to work with a one-on-one tutor if you're struggling with English, because for every question that you do, you need feedback from the faculty to understand exactly why you're getting that question wrong. What did you miss in the question, right? And that feedback is very important. So they can do classes, they can do drills with the faculty. So like I mentioned, in the summer program, it's best to do it in the summer, and do it for every question that you're practicing. Where are you going wrong? What exactly did you miss? And College Board, the questions are very tricky. They'll give you 4 options for the English questions. 2 you can rule out immediately, but the 2 will be very tricky, and there are certain techniques. So each type of question has a different technique. There are common traps that College Board has laid down for you. And to do it with faculty, the questions, that's what I would recommend, is the best way to bring up your score to the maximum. Of course, a large part of it depends on the base that you've already built. If students are avid readers, if you're debating money, if you're presenting a position paper at the MUN. So the skills that you have built in doing those activities is you've read through non-fiction text. You've been able to synthesize the important points. You've written a paper and you've presented it at the MUN. Or if you're debating, you've set a base from which the SAT can build up. But if you haven't, then you need validation for each and every question that you're doing to understand exactly where you're making the mistake. Some amount, of course, will depend on the base you've built, right? Just coaching will not help. But if that is not possible, if that base is not there, at least you can master the test-taking strategies, understand the patterns, understand the common traps. Like I mentioned, there are ways, there are techniques to do each and every question. Master that and practice that to a point where you can at least get your potential score, or whatever is the highest that you can get. Right? Those things will help. But I think the starting point would be to take the English diagnostic test. That will give you an idea. I hope you found that helpful. I hope that was something that will give you a place to start.
Thank you. Sorry for, I think there have been some questions. I could see them, but just you feel comfortable which one you want to answer the first. But second question is based on your experience. Just for considering, because this webinar here is specifically mostly were from the Indian side, is based on, I think we're doing the good in terms of, I'm asking this question generally related to the Indians kind of a things. What you have also, I think, noticed that we do good in the math, but a little bit on the English. Just based on experience, how much your coaching has been able to jack up from the diagnostic to the score which he got the maximum in, because he can have a 2 or 3 attempts based on what is the foundation at what score, particularly on the English side.
Again, I don't have a clear answer for that. It depends on the base. Sometimes when you take the diagnostic test, we've seen many students who already have the base but didn't do well on the diagnostic test because the pattern was new for them. The format of the test was very new to them. So they didn't score as much. So I've had students who've jumped 400 points, 500 points also, but that's the outlier, right? Those were students who had the base but didn't understand the format. For students who don't have the base, sometimes we see they don't even go beyond 50 to 100, maybe 150 points, right? Because if the base is not there, see, think about it like this, especially for the English. See, our kids do well on the math, like you said, because it's very aligned to what they're doing in school, right? Most of the mathematical concepts that are being tested have been taken up by grade 11 in almost all schools, all curriculums, right? English is very different from what they're doing in school. This is very critical thinking based, right? It's not like the ACT, which is very straightforward and direct. It does require, it's very complex. Now, this is new to what they're doing, from what they're doing in school. But like I said, for students who have had a strong base, I've seen 300, 400, even 500 point jumps. But like I said, they're the outliers, right? Again, I would say students who are from CBSE, ICSE, the Indian boards, they do direct grammar in middle school, right? So those marks, those 7 to 8 questions or 10 questions that we see out of every 27 questions is very direct grammar-based questions. They'll tend to get it right. While students who are doing international curriculum, while they expect to have a higher level of understanding of English, they have not really spent a lot of time in middle school doing direct grammar, right? So if you ask an international school kid, I'm talking about Cambridge and IB kids as well. When you ask them, what is an independent clause? normally they're not able to tell you that. Or if you ask them how many kinds of tenses are there, I mean, if you're talking about 12 tenses, they will not be able to tell you that. They can identify the mistake, but they will not remember the rules, or they have not been taught the rules directly. So those 7 to 10 questions, the marks for those do come in for IGCSE and IB students. So it all depends on what is the background of the student, what have they commonly put in, what is their base. And on an average, we will see about a 200-point jump. But like I said, there are many students who don't understand the format or don't have the grammar skills, but again, very low-hanging fruit, very easy to learn. It's almost like doing math. There are certain rules, there are certain exceptions to rule. You apply the correct rule in the correct place, no subjectivity there, right? So those points can come up for students. So it's very one-on-one, difficult to put an exact number to it. I hope I was able to answer your question.
I think thank you. There have been some you want to take on those questions. That will be nice.
Sure.
Thank you very
Sure.
much.
Okay. Now, there's a question, where can I get the syllabus for the SAT and the ACT? How can I prepare for English being in 10th grade? Like I said, Khan Academy is a great place to start. If you don't plan to take up coaching, maths, we can recommend a couple of books for you. It'll depend where you are currently. If you are not very good at math, you could start with a book called Dr. Jang's SAT Math. Again, math portions, the math testing on the SAT has not changed by much. Of course, Khan Academy is the best resource. College Board, Khan Academy, make a College Board account, make a Khan Academy account, you'll get a lot of questions. But if you're struggling with the base, I would say look at Dr. Jang's SAT Math. Even an older version is fine if you can get your hands on a PDF, practice from there. If you're reasonably good at math, I would say look at PW and the SAT. Again, there's an older version that is very well. If you're good at math, I would recommend a book called Dr. John Chung. He has a digital SAT math book, which is excellent. You could look at that and then you could, get started on that. It has only the harder questions. So if you're looking at a score of 800 and you're already at a 700 in your mock exam, I would say start with that book and practice with that. That should help you. Depends exactly where you're at. For English, Khan Academy and College Board has the best. I think Erica Meltzer is a great author. I think if you want to do topic-wise revisions or topic-wise rules, you could get started with her books. That kind of material is great. But I would say graduate from the books slowly to College Board. See, PSAT and SAT, there's not much difference. At least in the English, there's not much difference at all. So that's what I would recommend. I hope I was able to answer that question. What should be focused area in math while my son is in grade 8 standard? Again, the PSAT and the SAT will give you a list of topics. If you go to College Board or website, or if you go to the Khan Academy website, you will find a reasonable amount of material there that will tell you. There aren't that many books that will give you a list of topics. Of course, Princeton Review and Barron's will have books. You can have a look at those and they'll be able to give you an idea. But I think I would say focus on looking at the College Board material and Khan Academy material. That's the best resource that you have. And they have material for PSAT as well. So I hope I was able to answer that, Atharva. What should be focused area in math while my son is in standard 8th grade? Again, just fill in the form and we can send you a list of links that you should be looking at. How many attempts can students take for the SAT? There is no limit. There is no limit to how many SATs you can write. We usually recommend 2 tries because, otherwise colleges will start wondering, why are you doing this exam so many times? 2, maximum 3. Don't take more than that is what my personal recommendation would be. For each attempt, the fee, yes, there is a fee. There's almost $100 fee, I think, for each of the attempts which you need to take. But I think have a look at the College Board website. They'll give you all the details when you register. Please recommend maths book for 8th standard. There is no book for 8th standard that you could possibly look at. There are books for PSAT 8 and 9. So the common best is the College Board website and Khan Academy. They have material, have a look at that. If you want to look at a book, you should look for PSAT 8, 9. Princeton Review has some books, Barron's has books, Kaplan has books. We rely only on our own materials. So I would say these are the best that we usually find. Barron's is much harder than it actually needs to be. Their math is a little more advanced. So if you're struggling with math, I would say don't start with Barron's. If you're already very good with maths, then look at Barron's. English, I would not recommend Barron's at all. It's just out of context. How many AP exams would students should take, and how to find the resources for AP exams? Okay, so APs, see, it's different in India than it is in the US, right? Remember that AP exams in India are taken out of school. So when you're doing a particular subject in school, if you're doing APs, you need to study for APs additionally. It's a complete 200-hour prep that a student usually needs to put in for the AP. See, in the US, what happens is APs, it's the level of math you're doing in school. So you could be doing, your basic math, and you could go into an honors program, and then you will go into AP math, and you're doing, that is the math that you're doing in school, right? It's not the case in India. India, you need to go and do it outside. That's why you will hear a lot of US students, students who've taken up 8 APs and 10 APs. You have these cousins staying in the US who are taking 8 and 10 APs, but remember, they're taking it in school. That is the math that they're doing. Here you will be doing, A-level math and, AP calculus, AB or BC. You're going to be doing this in addition to what you're doing in school, right? If you want to do, 5 APs or 6 APs, you need to start planning early enough. You could start as early as grade 8, grade 9. Like I said, the skill-based APs or the interest-based APs would be, if you're interested in economics, AP macroeconomics is something you could do. AP psychology, if you're interested in psychology, AP world history, government, politics. There are quite a few APs that you could do before grade 10. Even skill-based APs, if you're interested in coding and you've already been coding for a while, look at the AP Computer Science A. That is something you could be doing. But I would say AP Physics, biology, again, is, if you're good at biology, it holds your interest. That's something you could do after grade 10 also. So those are the ones you should plan. How many can you take? I mean, there's no, you can take 0 AP exams. There are very few colleges that are going to mandate that you take APs before you come to us. So, I mean, very few colleges, hardly a handful. Like Cambridge, for example, says that if you have to apply for a course in Cambridge, you should have at least done 5 APs if you're doing an Indian curriculum, right? If you've done IB or A levels, that's not the case. But if you're doing ICSE or CBSE, Cambridge wants at least 5 APs from you, right? But very few colleges who want that. Most colleges will not even ask you to do APs. So it's just an add-on or something to boost your this thing. Like I mentioned, also differentiate. I know we have cousins in the US who are always doing 5 APs, 7 APs. It builds up a lot of pressure to say, oh my God, I've not done any AP. Most colleges don't ask you to do APs, but it does boost your scores. Basically, if you're trying to show them that there has to be a reason for taking an AP. And we have some AP webinars that we do specifically for APs. If you want, just fill out the form. We can send you a link for one of our AP webinars where we've discussed this in detail. All right. Or you could set up a one-on-one meeting and then we can take you through that. I hope I answered that question for you, Shubhruto. Can you recommend math and English for students who just started preparation just for foundation and practice? So Mariam, yes, I mean, we have a base builder course, which we, which we definitely say is a great place to start. So before you start SAT prep, if your student is in grade 8, you have the time, you have 2 years. I'll send you a recommended reading list. Read basic things are read across genres. Don't pick up only fiction, read non-fiction, read political stuff, read scientific stuff, start reading newspapers with your kids. I mean, if you're reading an Indian newspaper, the Hindu has very good English language skills. I mean, very good English language. At least 1 or 2 international journals like the Asia Wall Street Journal or the New York Times. Again, these, you don't have to pay for these subscriptions. You will have opinion pieces which are freely accessible. Download an article. More than reading, it is the discussion that you have after reading, which is very important. Read the article together as a family and maybe on dinner table discuss it. That this was my takeaway. What was your takeaway? And let everyone speak their mind, because that's when children really understand that, everyone has different takeaways from reading that same article. But ask questions which are beyond, why do you think the author said this? Or what do you think he meant when he said this? The discussion beyond is very important. Start doing that as parents is what I feel. If you are working in full-time jobs, you don't have the option to do that. Pick up one of these courses on critical thinking. Courses like the Base Builder focuses purely on the SAT base. So we are doing vocabulary, we are doing vocabulary which is relevant to the SAT. There aren't those 3,000 words which you can just mug up and give the exam like the older days. Here you will have words which are very simple. You'll have a word like table, but the word table itself has 16 meanings, right? Or 16 contexts in which it can be used. That's what's going to get tested on the SAT. So those are the foundation courses. We have a base builder for mathematics also, which we are building now, which is going to help, which we are starting now, which is going to help you not only with SAT math, but even academic maths to build a strong base. So you could sign up for one of those programs if you don't have the time to do it yourself. So multiple things, definitely a reading list. Get them to start reading. If they cannot read, get them to listen. It's how authors use language. That's what they need to be good at. And it is not being taught in school. It's very different from what they're doing in school. Whether you're doing IB or you're doing A levels, I see students struggling in this aspect a lot. Right? I hope that answered your question, Mariam. Any more questions? You could unmute yourself. You could ask any questions. Please feel free to do so.
Ma'am, what you said for the earlier question, repeat it once again. That student is struggling something you're saying, no? That one.
The English?
Yeah, ma'am.
So read. I would say read a lot. Grammar is something you need to focus on because grammar, of course, the scores will come much easier. There is only one right answer. I would say read articles, read newspaper articles, read the Scientific American, at least 1 or 2 science publications will be good. Read the Asia Wall Street Journal, New York Times, the Hindu if you're reading in English, in Indian newspaper. Definitely read books from across genres, right? That's what I mentioned.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Okay.
If you can fill in the form, we do have a reading list also, recommended reading list. We can share that across.
Okay. Yeah, so fill up the form. If you need anything, there's a form here that we have, put up. Any question that you have, anything that you require a link to, or anything you feel you need help with, just fill it up. You can also have a one-on-one consultation with us, and we'll be happy to sit with you and help understand where are you struggling, and we can maybe share some links with you. See, there's a lot of SAT material which is available outside. My worry is how much of it is relevant. So if you have a choice, I would say pick up College Board material and or Khan Academy material. That is the best, right? That is, if you have only time to do one set of practices, I would say use this material. It's the most relevant material. Again, like I said, there's a lot of books and a lot of material. Not all of it is relevant. Yeah. All right. Any more questions?
Can I ask a question regarding AP?
Yeah, sure, please.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, where can I find something like, my son is giving, he's doing A and AS level, and one of the subject is computer science. So how do we know that now? I came to know that computer science, once if we give the exam for A level computer science, then he's already, he cannot, he shouldn't appear for CS, AP CS, computer science. So where do we find that table kind of a thing that, if I want to go with a physics mechanics for AP, then his A level physics is already, he doesn't have to give that exam. Something, that kind of a table or something is available?
No, there is no table like that. But if you know the colleges or the universities that you're applying to, right? You should look at, you can go to there. If you look at it, you can see where are they giving you credits for. Right. So there is, so if you're doing A level, so what I can do is, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll send you a link. If you can just fill up the form, right?
Okay.
I'll send you, and let us know that you want links for APs. We have done an AP webinar where I have explained in detail, and we'll send you the recording for that. It's there on YouTube also. We'll share a recording with you. All right. So what you can do is, the college that you're aiming for, go there and look for the credits that they will receive, right? For APs or A levels, they have a credit policy.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Every university would have put up their credit policy. Now there you will find how many credits are you getting for the course that you've already taken.
Okay. I got
there you
your
can
point.
compare
Okay.
and see. So see, AP, you have to have a reason for taking an AP, right? If you're doing A levels or IB. don't randomly take it. See if it's helping your profile, if it's helping. So for example, if your child has not taken up that subject in high school, but you want to major in it, right?
Okay.
Then you should take the AP for it, right? For ICSE, CBSE students, it's different because you will not get credits for it anyways, right? Whatever you have studied in high school. But for A levels and IB, many colleges will give you credits for what you've done. So if he's already done computer science in school, I don't think he needs to take it, right? He can take it because he might get a 5 in any case, and then it just adds on. It boosts your application to say that though I've taken it in high school, but again, you don't need to take it. Now, supposing if he was planning, if he's a science student and he's done computers in school, but he wants to study economics or finance.
Yeah, that's what he's planning.
So then he might want to take up, he might want to take up AP microeconomics. He might want to take up AP psychology. These are the things that will show that, okay, I'm a science student, but I'm good at this also. There has to be a reason for taking an AP. Only then it's going to help you, right? But if he's planning to say, if he's done sciences and computer sciences, he plans to do engineering, right? Taking AP microeconomics is not going to help him in any way.
Right.
Yeah, the only way it shows you is that I'm broad-based. I can do many things, right? I'm multifaceted. All of that has value also, right? But it's not going to give you any credits, if you say. So if you look at the colleges you're applying to, have a look at their credit policy. And there you will see that A levels, IGCSE or GCSE, how many credits are you getting for the computer science you've already done, or IB? For which are the exams, how much credit are you getting? If you're already getting credits for that, that means it's a recognized course by the university. Then to repeat an AP in the same doesn't make sense.
Okay, I got it. Okay.
But for example, if he's not done well in computer science in school, but he plans to study computer science, then you might want to take the AP to offset, to say that, okay, my school score was a little off, but I'm actually very skilled at computer science. I've got a 5 on 5 in an AP. Then, I mean, you have to connect the dots. It has to make sense to take the AP. There is no table as such, but for the colleges you're applying to, you'll be able to see their credit policy, and you have to judge for yourself, or you can do this activity with the college counselor also. They'll be able to tell you whether it's going to help you or not, what is required, what are universities looking for, because it's very different from university to university. And believe me, it changes every year. Every year, a university might decide that, okay, this is my target for this year.
Okay.
Or this is my agenda. They're not going to share it with everyone, right? But college counselors, because they're in touch with the universities, they will have some sense of, what is it? And they'll be able to help you kind of do that. Again, if you want to, if you already have, and most schools will have college counselors. So you can speak with them and you can find out what is the reason.
Okay. Great.
But I'll, just fill up the form, and we'll send you a link of the, we can send you a link of the websites where you can find this information, and I'll send you a link of the AP webinar as well. So when you go through that, you'll be able to find out how to look for what you're looking for.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions? All right. If there are no more questions, thank you so much. You've been an extremely engaging audience. Thank you for spending your time on your Sunday here. And we have our numbers here in case you need to get in touch with any one of us. Please feel free to do so. You can just call in and ask for an appointment, and we'll have someone from the team, fix an appointment. We can sit with you. No charges for any of that. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.